Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today we're waking up to another detailed weather report. A lot going on around the Australian weather scene once again. We've got some rainfall over central Queensland, southeastern Queensland and northeastern New South Wales. We're also going to be talking about some heavy rainfall that's expected to develop this weekend over far north Queensland. A desert thunderstorm situation mess is also expected to develop this weekend, which we'll be talking about. I'll give you a quick update on the cold snap that is currently brutalising Victoria and Tasmania, and we're also going to be talking about a powerful cold front heading for the West Australian coastline. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you are brand new here, then please do consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. Your support is greatly appreciated. So we're going to start things off talking about the now. Over in northeastern New South Wales and southeastern Queensland, we do have a couple of showers heading around the Brisbane, Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast metro areas. We've also got some rainfall into northeastern New South Wales as well, impacting areas around Grafton and Coffs Harbour. Nothing heavy, nothing extreme here. And you can see from the satellite picture as well, it's just this slow-moving band of cloud sort of feature that's really been stubborn in terms of moving out of this part. And it happens all the time on this part of northeastern New South Wales and southeastern Queensland. These weak low pressure systems get themselves set up just offshore, and they create these rainfall events that every now and then can drop up to 100 millimetres of rain. And that was my concern from this weather event, that we were going to be seeing some heavy accumulations in northeastern New South Wales and southeastern Queensland, but we really haven't seen it from this weather event. What's going to be happening in the future of this weather event? Well, it's going to be weakening off. The low pressure system never really developed, and it's going to be moving, or the trough line at least, to be moving further north throughout the course of today and dragging those light to moderate showers up the coast, further up and towards the Sunshine Coast and then towards Fraser Island, Bundaberg and Gladstone. They could be getting a little bit of rainfall throughout the course of today as well. And you can see in the next 24 hours, we are expecting some decent accumulations here and there. Pockets are expecting to receive rainfall accumulations up to 50 millimetres throughout the course of today, but it will only be coastal and communities further inland. Even Brisbane, which is protected by some islands just offshore, not expecting any major rainfall accumulations there, only a couple of millimetres. It'll only be coastal areas such as Coomera and then up towards Redcliffe and Noosa and Caloundra, and even as far north as Hervey Bay, that are expecting some decent rainfall that will register on a rain gauge. Anywhere inland, not expecting any kind of rainfall at all. You can still see, though, pockets up towards 60 millimetres throughout the course of today. It's nothing to completely discount in terms of a threat of flash flooding, but it is, like I said, only going to be coastal. And as you can see from the 3-day rainfall accumulation, it gets itself out of the way pretty quickly, and we're not expecting rainfall to continue in towards Thursday, just a couple of showers, and then by Thursday evening it will be basically more or less gone in this part of Queensland. Just thought that it's worth mentioning, especially because it does impact quite a lot of people in terms of population. Southeast Queensland, just a couple of showers throughout the course of today, and the risk of flooding non-existent from now on. While we're on the topic of Queensland, we're going to give far north Queensland a little bit more love. They're expecting some rainfall to begin piping up from Friday morning. Not tomorrow morning, the day after tomorrow morning, Friday. We're expecting a little bit of rainfall to start to pipe up there, and it is actually going to amount to some decent accumulations through Saturday, some showers, and even the odd storm here and there until about Sunday morning. Expected to dump up to 100 millimetres of rainfall there over the coming 5 days. You can see pockets actually expected to exceed 100 millimetres, up to 150 millimetres outside of Innisfail, and then a bit more rainfall up towards Port Douglas and the Daintree Rainforest. So some good pockets of rainfall up here. Cairns expecting 20 millimetres, but like I said, the inland areas that are around the mountains up in far north Queensland expecting some much better accumulations, and even between Lockhart River and Cooktown, a couple of good accumulations are possible. The rainfall won't make its way inland, just a few showers here and there between Revensaw and Charters Towers inland from Townsville at Cardwell and Ingham, and it certainly won't make its way further inland to the pastoral communities around Croydon, Georgetown, and then even further north into true far north Queensland. The rainfall will not penetrate further in. Now, what's driving this? Well, we've got an onshore flow that is about to set itself up in far north Queensland. It's going to stream through this speckly cloud here, which does have the odd shower in it. Now, this cloud will intensify over the coming couple of days. We're going to look at the rainfall radar, and it's going to be like this, but on steroids. It's just going to be lines of rainfall streaming ashore. And as we know, with the lines of rainfall in far north Queensland, in already saturated far north Queensland, might I add, the risk of flooding certainly is there. We're going to flick it over to my favourite map on the windy.com program. That is the soil soil moisture map, taking a look at the soil moisture values up here in far north Queensland, they are at 99 to 100% in these incredibly wet parts of Australia. And when you've got soil moisture values that are at 100%, every bit of rain becomes runoff. It flows right into the rivers and it causes flooding. And 100 millimetres of rainfall on soil moisture values that are still at 99 or 98 or 100% in places will create flooding. It won't be major flooding, it'll just be a little bit of flooding here and there, but certainly if you do live around rivers that are prone to flooding, or if your house is in danger from flooding when the rivers get towards minor or moderate flooding, then you should really be paying attention to the rain radars and have an evacuation or a flood plan in place. I know this is July, and I know that is an extreme thing for me to be saying this time of the year, but I mean, look at the rainfall accumulation over the next 5 days, 115 millimetres possible. That's just one forecast. The GFS also expecting a really good swathe of heavy rainfall, 50 millimetres, but the GFS always underestimates, and we all know that. The Axis G3 also expecting a good amount of rainfall. Interestingly, not as much as they were expecting yesterday, but still 60 millimetres, and from this type of rainfall, 60 millimetres could fall in 2 or 3 hours. So just have it in the back of your head that some heavy rainfall is coming through Friday and early Saturday morning, and it's best just to stay safe in a situation like this. Have your flood plan ready, and just make sure that you are ready for some kind of action in terms of flooding up here in far north Queensland, because the rainfall will certainly be heavy enough to cause that. I will just flick it back to the drought monitoring map. You can see soil moisture values in this part of far north Queensland as well, significantly further above average. In fact, they're about 50 to 70% above average in certain places. And when we're going to get this rainfall on these locations, it's going to create, like I said, that flooding situation. And these soil moisture anomalies just increase this weekend once the rainfall has fully set itself up in far north Queensland. And you can see when we look at the soil moisture map, once again, we're talking about values up towards 100%. So any further rainfall in the next 2 weeks on top of the rainfall that's coming through this weekend is definitely a cause for concern. Thankfully, if we were to take a look at the 10-day forecast period, it's just a few showers from beyond this weekend, a couple of showers through Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday next week, easing off by later next week. So again, nothing really cause for concern up here. But for those in far north Queensland, you do have a little bit of unseasonable weather heading your way. Well, the first 10 minutes of this video are just going to be Queensland based, to be honest. We're now going to be talking about the southwestern corner of Queensland, but also South Australia, the Northern Territory and New South Wales. We've got a low pressure system that's expected to develop in this central part of Australia, the most arid part of Australia, and interestingly enough, it's going to be dropping up to 100 millimetres of rainfall for some locations. Pull the weather forecast back to today, and we're going to bring things forward to Thursday afternoon. You can already start to see some scattered showers starting to fall in South Australia and even into agricultural parts of Queensland. We've got a trough line starting to develop here by Thursday evening, and that's going to fire up some thunderstorms and thunder showers and a little bit of light to moderate rainfall as well throughout Friday morning and into early Friday afternoon. Now, once we get in towards Friday afternoon, this shower activity is going to become a lot more consistent and a lot more predictable. We're going to be talking about some heavier rainfall throughout this part of Queensland, South Australia and the Northern Territory, and some of these showers here could drop 20 millimetres an hour. Certainly the chance of some heavy accumulations through this part of Queensland, the Northern Territory and into South Australia. And might add, this has also been on the forecast for the last week, so it is basically set in stone at this time. There's no difference between the model's predictions here, and it looks like a very certain weather event to happen. Saturday is also going to be very interesting, especially from a satellite image perspective. There's going to be a lot of these isolated thunderstorms and showers and a little bit of a rain band starting to develop across the Northern Territory between communities such as Alice Springs up towards Tennant Creek, and then inland into Queensland to Mount Isa, Longreach down towards Charleville, and then into the northwestern parts of New South Wales, even expecting a little bit of rainfall throughout Sunday and into Monday when this weather event turns into a more light to moderate based, trough based rainfall event. So it's all happening across Central Australia. A lot of rainfall is expected, and you can see on the 10-day rainfall accumulation map here, widespread totals in Queensland, New South Wales and South Australia above 40 millimetres, some even reaching 60 or 70 millimetres in one or two places. You can see just by how patchy the rainfall is out in the really rural parts of southwestern Queensland and into the Northern Territory and South Australia that the rainfall will be unpredictable, hit and miss, and very hard to predict. But once we get in towards some more agricultural based parts of Queensland, New South Wales and South Australia, the rainfall will actually become very predictable and very consistent. There will be communities a lot of communities, few and far between out in South Australia, that are expecting some very good rainfall accumulations from this weather event. To name a few, Roxby Downs expecting 50 millimetres, Cooper Pedy expecting about 10 to 15 millimetres, Minterby is a relatively uncertain 10 millimetres, Moomba expecting a good amount of rainfall as well, and even communities north of Lake Eyre, or just cattle stations north of Lake Eyre up towards Birdsville, expecting at least 10 millimetres of rainfall and potentially up to 50. Now, this is a lot of concern in terms of how much rainfall is expected here. Rivers in this part of New South Wales, South Australia and Queensland, especially in the Murray-Darling Basin and into the Lake Eyre Basin, are already flowing close to capacity for this time of the year. So this amount of rainfall, which is for some places half a year's to a year's worth of rainfall, and it will be the heaviest rainfall that some of these places have seen in up to a decade, this is cause for concern in terms of rivers expecting to burst their banks from this sort of rainfall. Soil moisture values in this part of Central Australia as well, they're not low either. They're certainly not in drought conditions, and you can see soil moisture values are at around 50 to 60% here, quite a lot wetter than average, in fact up to 2 or 3 times wetter than average, and you can see this weather event's just going to exacerbate this sort of stuff, bringing soil moisture values up to 3 or 4 times wetter than average in the northwestern parts of New South Wales rather, and these values getting up towards 80, 90, even 100% in 1 or 2 locations. So cause for concern here. For those travelling through Central Australia on dirt roads, it's advised that you just miss the Central Australia region altogether. Birdsville, Moomba, you can triangulate a position anywhere between Minterby down to Cooper Pedy, Roxby Downs, across into New South Wales, into Broken Hill. The roads get a little bit better in New South Wales, and then even up towards Longreach, Mount Isa in Queensland. Just give this part of Central Australia a miss. You don't know where the rainfall's going to be headed. It is quite uncertain when you get in towards the Northern Territory, Queensland, and even into the more western parts of South Australia, the more central parts of South Australia. Roads guaranteed will be washed out from a weather event like this, so just make sure you're taking extra care when driving on these gravel roads, and just play it safe. And there is a chance that you do get completely cut off to the grey nomads and the travellers moving through this central part of Australia. Just to stay safe, contact the police and the Shire officers for the latest road information. That's a lot of talk on a weather event that's not actually going to be impacting too many people. While we're on the topic of Eastern Australia, we're going to be talking about the cold snap that's currently being plagued by Leawanwy in Tasmania. One of the nation's coldest spots got to a brutally cold minus 12.8 degrees Celsius last night, a full 7 degrees Celsius below the Bureau of Meteorology prediction and 12 degrees Celsius below the average minimum temperature. It was frigid there last night. I mean, I can't talk because I wasn't there, but minus 12.8 degrees is an absolutely brutal cold condition. So I do feel for them there. It's a slightly warmer minus 3 degrees Celsius there right now, all being powered by this huge high pressure system over the top of Tasmania. You can see conditions throughout Victoria also very close to freezing, not far above freezing. There should be a little bit of reprieve to the extreme cold, at least for New South Wales, but South Australia and Victoria expecting another brutally cold night tonight, a big frost day tomorrow morning, and Tasmania, no escape from it either. I reckon Leawanwy will once again dip below minus 10 degrees Celsius. It's beating out Australia's usually coldest spots such as Thredbo or Mount Buller or Mount Hotham in Victoria, or Perisher Valley up in New South Wales, and like I said, Thredbo in New South Wales. It's beating out the typical colder spots overnight, and it's beaten them out by big margins as well. So it gives you an idea of the strength of the high pressure system that's stubbornly not going to move for another couple of days until it gets swept out by a cold front sometime later this weekend. But it still looks like temperatures will be far below zero for a lot of mountainous Tasmania and New South Wales and Victoria as well until at least the end of this weekend and into early parts of next week. So it's typical July weather at this time, typical winter weather, but for communities and farming communities on the agricultural plains in Victoria, New South Wales and South Australia, just be warned, you're going to have a couple more big frost mornings until the cold finally clears out. And there's no rain on the forecast either for the next 5 days as well for this part of Southern Australia, and that's why things are being kept so brutally cold. It will be this trough line and rainfall event over in South Australia, New South Wales and Queensland that will be the saving grace sometime early next week from this brutal cold snap. So yeah, just a heads up, things are going to stay really cold in Tasmania, Victoria and South Australia. Not so cold in New South Wales, but still reasonably cold, so farmers continue expecting those big frost mornings. You can already start to see over in Western Australia in the next part of the video the heavy rainfall that's expected to materialise offshore from Western Australia over the coming 10 days. You can see on the 10-day rainfall accumulation map some good rainfall expected around Perth and the southwest, some also decent rainfall expected into the wheat belt, even into the northern wheat belt and the south coastal parts of the wheat belt, which are in dire need of some rainfall, and more unsurprisingly great rainfall expected up around Coral Bay, Carnarvon, and then into the Murchison region up in northern Western Australia. We're expecting some very good rainfall there from a powerful cold front that's expected to cross the coast sometime this weekend. You can see a strong cold front lining up for its crossing sometime Saturday evening into early Sunday morning. This cold front here is going to have some very heavy rainfall, but more interestingly, some extremely damaging wind gusts. Winds averaging 60 to 70 kilometres an hour and gusting up towards 110 kilometres an hour here, as you can see off the southwest capes. This is nearly hurricane force wind gusts. As I change it to kilometres an hour, I've left it for the other weather channel that I'm running. You can see wind gusts up towards 110 kilometres an hour here offshore from the Perth coastal area. Very strong wind gusts and also some very heavy rainfall. Now, the rainfall should blow through fast enough and the cold front fragmented enough on Sunday that Perth actually doesn't receive too much rainfall from this weather event. In fact, 20 millimetres kind of looks like the worst case scenario here, but you can see this moisture band up in the northern parts. It's about to cross the Gascoyne and the Murchison coastline. That's going to be bringing some heavy rainfall up there. In fact, up to 70 millimetres of the stuff around Carnarvon between Sunday morning into Tuesday morning. So a couple of days worth of light to moderate and at times heavy rainfall before the next powerful cold front lines itself up for a crossing of the southwest sometime Tuesday afternoon. This one's going to be really strong. It's going to have powerful winds. It's going to have freezing cold conditions and a big stream of light to moderate rainfall that's expected to collide with the Perth coastal plain, and for locations south of it, they're expecting some very good rainfall Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. The Bureau of Meteorology already expecting up to 20 millimetres of rainfall Tuesday for Perth. I'm very eager to see their Wednesday forecast, so it looks like they're on board with some very heavy rainfall, and then the shower band that streams in behind it will have some severe weather Wednesday and into Thursday, and some freezing cold conditions Thursday morning as well in the wake of this system, before another little shower band flushes its way up north in towards the south coastal parts of Western Australia Thursday and Friday. But the weather forecast becomes a little bit more uncertain there, so we're going to have to wait and see. And you can see on these on the weather map here, the rain map rather, you can see that these big time cold fronts brush into the eastern states, and they do bring those freezing cold conditions away from them. But the high pressure system that's expected to form in behind this system, which doesn't actually happen for a couple of days, means that there's going to be some warmer than average nights for the Western Australian coastline, and it doesn't look like things get too far below zero until probably sometime early next fortnight when that high pressure system comes over Western Australia. So it looks like it might actually be a little bit warmer than average for the southwest over the coming couple of days. Now, these cold fronts still a long way out into the future. We're still pretty uncertain about the one that's expected to come through this weekend. The rainfall is quite unpredictable on this system, but we will keep a very close eye on things. And then the rainfall beyond this cold front is, like I said, very unpredictable. So again, I'm not going to be making any calls on it right now. But in terms of peak rainfall accumulations from the forecast models, expecting up to 50 millimetres of rainfall for the Perth metro area, and then down towards Bunbury, Collie expecting a high of 75 millimetres or so, and the south coast expecting up to 100 millimetres of rainfall. Pretty typical stuff from 2 or 3 strong cold fronts. So again, nothing out of the ordinary. Even the wheat belt expecting some good rainfall too. And like I said, the Murchison and the Gascoyne coast expecting some very healthy rainfall accumulations. For those that are interested, there's a powerful hurricane raging in the Atlantic Basin right now. Major Hurricane Beryl achieved Category 5 status last night, and it has weakened slightly, but still it remains a monstrously powerful major hurricane. So we'll have to keep an eye on things on the second channel, Cyclones Extra. If you are brand new here and you did enjoy the video, then please do consider subscribing, and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. Your support is greatly appreciated. That is all from me today. A special shout out to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now. Their support is absolutely life-saving to this channel, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.